Do you ever catch yourself saying, "Oh, if I only knew that sooner," right? A lot of people say that. What are some of the things that you might say, "Oh, I wish I would have known that sooner," with regard to your agile journey? There are lots of things I could think of in this category, but I wanted to rattle off just a few, maybe four or five, and see if any of these resonate with you. So I started doing Scrum when Scrum first started being a thing. So for me, I didn't miss out on many of these. So I had to ask some of my students to help me come up with a good list of the things that they wished they would have known sooner. And the first one kind of surprised me. It was definition of done. So we all know what a definition of done is, but most people don't think it through about why it's so critical. Um, Definition of done helps you distinguish completed and uncompleted product backlog items. It's common as an issue in waterfall when you're doing waterfall management that team members cannot know which tasks are completed and which are not, and that tends to cause confusion. So if you're trying to do a good solid definition of done, you'll figure out which product backlog items actually are done. The second reason is to achieve consistent quality. A definition of done defines quality assurance processes such as unit tests or code reviews in order to ensure certain quality standards. Without a good definition of done, the quality output becomes inconsistent. And the third is to prevent underestimation. This way, you kind of know what you're getting your head around and you know all the things that should be included. Let's go to number two. Number two on my list is acceptance criteria using Gherkin syntax. So, acceptance criteria has been around forever, but Gherkin has as well, but not the two together. So, when you start thinking about Gherkin acceptance criteria, given, when, then, you can even start off with scenario, which describes what tests or the requirement, what it is, right? Then you do given, describes the initial context of the state before the user takes any action. When describes the action a user takes, and then describes the expected outcome. So if you were doing like successful login as an example, you might say, given the user already has an account, when they input their email address and password, then press the login button, then it will log them into the application, right? Pretty simple stuff. But I think that you also need to make sure you understand the difference between acceptance criteria and definition of done, because some people use those interchangeably. Acceptance criteria describes only product behaviors and doesn't ever contain technical aspects such as unit tests or code reviews, etc. On the other hand, definition of done is usually more comprehensive. So acceptance criteria, general acceptance criteria, and overarching definitions are all part of definition of done. Number three, the INVEST framework. This one I totally understand. INVEST is William Wake or Bill Wake, and he said I is for independent, N is for negotiable, V is for valuable, E is for estimable or estimable, S is for small or sized appropriately, and then T is for testable, which I found interesting. So independent means you avoid dependencies when you can. Of course, negotiable means it's not a locked-in contract. Valuable means if it doesn't provide value, why are you doing it? Estimable means that you should be able to estimate size or scope because estimatable is not a word. I usually say t-shirt sizes will do there. Sized appropriately means that it's small enough to fit inside of a single sprint, that you've broken it down. And testable means if you can't test it, you probably shouldn't be doing it. All right. Number four has to do with the improper use of story splitting. So a lot of people leverage. I'm not saying there should never be a hierarchy of stories. I want to be clear here. Meaning that if you have something that's a big item and you need to break it down into smaller items, I'm all about that. I think that's a good idea. But I think too many people leverage story splitting in a way where they are splitting stories into part one and part two and trying to fit them into sprints, and it gets ugly quick if you don't do this right. So what I'm trying to say is, if you can hammer down what exactly needs to be done, and you can break it down into cohesive, sensible pieces that are easy to consume in a single sprint, you can marry those up to a parent, no problem, but you shouldn't be splitting work from one sprint to the next just because it didn't fit. Okay, interesting, right? Let's go to number five. Number five has to do with interpersonal skills. So, there are certain interpersonal skills that I call essential interpersonal skills. And as a Scrum Master or coach, it's your responsibility to educate and discipline the team so that they can practice Scrum or Agile autonomously and thrive to achieve higher performance and customer satisfaction over time. It's amazing when you see what people know and what they don't know. So here are those 4 skills. The first one is mentoring. This is mainly for an individual that gives direct advice to a mentee based on their knowledge and experience. Then there's teaching for groups, and they give instructions and knowledge and transfer knowledge based on experience to guide them into practicing better Scrum or Agile. Then you have coaching, which is the active listening piece and asking powerful questions to lead you to find solutions that this person may not have noticed in the past. The coach does not provide direct answers because coaching assumes that the coach knows knows the situation better, so they can find the best solution based on your company's culture and based on what types of things they are finding success with. And then, of course, you have facilitating. Facilitating is a big deal. I just recently started teaching the Agile Coaching Skills Certified Facilitator class, and what I can tell you is in that class, facilitation, people realize right away that without facilitation, you are going to have conflict and have problems. If you don't figure this out, your projects are going to become unmanageable. You're going to have bad collaboration issues, low performance. Facilitating is a key to everything, in my opinion. And I think that if you can't master facilitation, you're going to be in big trouble. So with that being said, there's so many things you could do, but I thought those 5 were a good starting list, if you will. And if you start by just identifying your own 5 and figuring out what are 5 things that you wish you would have known sooner, you can put those on paper and get those out to other people who join your company because, well, it may help someone down the line with your knowledge because you can share your knowledge with them. That's going to do it. I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you have a question or a comment or an episode or something you want us to review, reach out to us at learnmore@agiledad.com. We'd love to hear from you. As always, we encourage you to stay healthy, stay well, and stay agile, my friends. Until next time, do take care.